right, it's 6:39. I'm going to bring the meeting to order. First up, I'll do a roll call. Jason?
Here.
Heather?
Here.
Cindy?
Here.
Leonard?
Here.
Okay, that's the full board. And Matt, can you go over the electronic spiel one more time, please?
Certainly. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Enosburg Falls is being conducted electronically in order to ensure the safety of all attendees and to maintain compliance with Governor Scott's executive order. Per H 681 signed into law on March 30th, 2020, Section 6, there is a temporary suspension of designated physical meeting location requirements of the Vermont Open Meeting Law, VSA Section 312A1. In order to ensure that all attendees can hear clearly, your audio has been muted. When you wish to speak, please raise your hand within the chat function, or if you called in via phone, by pressing *9. Once acknowledged by the chair, please clearly state your name and then proceed with your question or comment. Please remember that when unmuted, all participants can hear any sounds in your environment. Again, this meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, Matt. So first we have modifications and changes to the agenda. Is there anything we want to change? No? Okay. We'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public? No, doesn't look like it. All right, so next up, review and approval for minutes of August 25th, 2020.
Sam, Yvonne is here, but she's muted. I don't know if...
Yeah, she's an agenda item, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so review and approval. Everyone have a chance to look at those minutes? And if they look good, I'll hear a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Cindy with the first, I have a second.
I'll second that.
Heather with a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right. So up next we have Yvonne Cayo from Enosburg Town Recreation with a park update.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I am, for those of you that don't know me, I am the Recreation Director for Enosburg Rec. Thanks for having me at your meeting today. I wanted to share with you guys some information about a community project, an important community project that we're working on. I'm part of a special steering committee that is working to improve the Enosburg recreation fields and turn them into a community park. So this is not just any community park. You know, this has been very strategically planned. It's a park that will be open to not just, you know, kids and families. It would be for people of all ages, all kinds of interests, and you know, it's wheelchair accessible. So it's something for the whole community. And just a little bit of history about this project is that back in 2018, Enosburg Rec applied for a municipal planning grant, and last year we were awarded the grant. So we hired the consulting group to create. I don't know if you guys saw, we had several open house events in the community where we asked the public to come and give feedback and kind of tell us what their vision of a community park would be. We took all those ideas and we included them into the master plan. I believe you have maps of the master plan in your packets. So this is a master plan. It's been finalized, and now it's been adopted by the select board, and our special steering committee has started working on it. And we're really excited. It's a big undertaking. It's a big project, and it can seem a little overwhelming. So we're starting off with small projects that we can accomplish locally, while at the same time looking into grants to help us with the big pieces. And to provide more information, if you want to know more details, if you want to look into the master plan and look at costs, everything is pretty much broken down on our project website. And you can find the link to our project website on the town website. There's a link on the side tabs. there's a link called Recreation Fields Project. And if you click on it, it'll take you straight to the project website. And so the project website includes, it's really simple. It's a website that includes our mission. There's a link right in the front that shows you the master plan. And right away, it gives you the option to help the project. You can donate, and then it shows you our immediate goals. Like I mentioned, we're working on smaller portions of the plan right now that we could accomplish locally. And this means that, you know, if we can get, you know, local sponsors or just community donations or just people volunteering their time to help us build some of these smaller pieces, you know, we want to get started on it to encourage the community and show them that this is, you know, this is something that we're actually working on, that we're progressing on. So just some of the immediate goals that we have are a Gaga pit. That's part of the master plan, but it's something pretty simple that we think we can accomplish locally. So right now we're in need of lumber and supplies. So we're looking for volunteers to help us either, you know, build it. We're looking for sponsors or people that can help us purchase the lumber. There's different options of building a Gaga pit. A community garden, that's something else that, you know, we found to be, that's doable. And tree planting. So we want to start making the park look nice. So we're planning on planting some trees along the south perimeter of the field. So that's something that would obviously be done next spring, but this is just an example of some of the things we're working on. If you look at the master plan, there's so much to do, to work on. I actually presented this earlier today at the Enosburg Business Association, and right away I got asked about the playground. So, you know, we're seeing that people have interest in different parts of the park, and really, I mean, all I can say is that we're going to need as much community support as we can get for this project. If anyone can volunteer their time, or, you know, as a business or as an individual, if they want to sponsor it, that would be wonderful. We're doing something for sponsors that if we have a sponsor that can help support the project, we're going to obviously provide them with recognition, with some community exposure, and really it's going to depend on what they can contribute. You know, just an example of what the sponsorship could look like. We're planning on having a pavilion set up at the park. So if a sponsor wants to help put that together, they want to sponsor it, they want to give us the money needed to build it, you know, maybe we could call it, I don't know, the McDonald's Pavilion or something like that. There's that option. There's the option to do a plaque. You know, this is possible thanks to, you know, the help of so-and-so business or organization. I mean, I think the sky's the limit, and we wanted to share this information with you because it's a big project, and, you know, we're going to need as much help as we can. It's not something that's just going to benefit, you know, the town of Enosburg, obviously the village, businesses, families. I think it's going to bring people here to our community, maybe even get people interested in moving here, because that's what families look for, right? I mean, they look for a place where they can do things with their kids, with their family. And I think we find that how important that is right now with COVID, and that people can't really go out as much. They're looking for something local. And I think some of you know that we don't have a public playground here in Enosburg. We have the one at the high school, I mean at the elementary school, but I think that's not available when they're doing camps in the summer, or obviously when they have school, or I think maybe right now with COVID, that makes it difficult too. But we need more of those types of recreational opportunities. And like I said, this is not just for kids. There's, I mean, if you look at the plan, there's plans for a walking path for people that are athletic, people that like gardening. I mean, there's tennis courts. I mean, there's so much we could do. If we get really far into it, there's the chance of doing a nature walk. So, so it's really exciting, and I hope you guys can get as excited as we are about it, and you know, help support this project, and you know, again, any ideas? I think some of you maybe have received some information already. Heather, I think maybe Amy Brewer has
Yep.
reached out to you with some information.
Yeah, she
So,
did.
okay, so yeah, I think we're reaching out to, Vermont Youth Project, Actions PTO. We're going to reach out to the Historical Society. And I think any organization, Cold Hollow Career Center, their construction students, maybe they can pitch in. So it's going to be something where everybody can get involved. And really, I mean, sky's the limit. It's a big project, and we don't expect to finish this anytime soon. It's going to be a really long-term project. I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 year project, but it doesn't hurt to, hit the ground running and see what we could do. So I wanted to share that project with you guys, and Matt, I know Matt is part of our steering committee. So Matt, please feel free to add anything that I might have missed or any additional thoughts you have.
One of the things that the committee has talked about is getting a site sign up so that the people who are using the park will know about the plan and the future construction and expansion, what new features are being planned, and give them some information about how to contribute, as well as giving them some feedback about the progress with collecting donations, sponsorships, etc. So that's something that we're also pursuing at this point. And I think, as Yvonne said, the website is up and it gives the people an opportunity to donate right on the site. They can make a general donation, or they can donate specifically to one of the initial projects that the group is starting with. Hopefully we can start to gather some funds, and with some local in-kind support as well as donations, we can get a couple of these low-hanging fruit, as we refer to them, that will give people a visual indication that something's actually starting and there is a plan in motion.
Vaughn, I just want to say those plans look great. We certainly have some work ahead of us.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple community members mention something about wanting a dog park. I didn't know if there was anything included in those plans yet.
I think that was brought up doing the, when we asked for community feedback. I don't recall the reason why that wasn't included on here. To be honest with you, I don't recall why, but like I said, it's something that will evolve. I don't think in 20 years, if this is done or even just halfway done, I don't think it's going to look exactly like this. So, I mean, there's always a possibility of adding something to it. But yeah, I mean, we're welcome to ideas and things like that. So right now there's plenty of space where I think people can still just kind of bring their dogs. And there will be for a while until we start getting more things on there. So.
Okay.
I'm really excited about all this. Good stuff.
And, any of you are welcome to join our calls to listen in, or, give some thoughts. We meet the first Tuesday of every month. We have a meeting from 5 to 6. And so far they've been pretty productive. We just kind of, start listing things that we're going to work on, and we just start knocking them out. Right, Matt?
Right.
So, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Matt or myself, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or help you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. All right. Does anybody have any other things to add to that? No. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne.
All right. Up next, we have a Dropbox discussion.
So if the board looks in your packets, you'll see some information that Matt Miner had put together. He has actually been researching this subject for a little while in anticipation that at some point this topic may come up again. So Matt has there anything in particular you want to talk to the board about regarding the options in their packet?
Yeah, a couple of things I could share. As you can see, I tried to give you um, the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of most secure, most expensive, and most difficult to install, all the way down to least expensive and potentially less secure, um, easier to implement concepts. Um, Really, the option that I prefer and I think is most feasible would be the through the door solution. As you are all aware, we're in the process right now of trying to replace the door that was recently damaged. Gives us an opportunity to actually have this properly installed, cut into the door and mounted, um, and give us a nice clean and secure installation. The cost is not excessive. The actual cost of the box itself is around $150, and assuming that we would have up to another $150 in terms of installation cost, I wouldn't expect the cost of this to exceed $300. Um, that would be the recommendation that I would suggest to the board that best fits the economics and the security as well as the aesthetics for the location in the existing facility. We also did a little bit of research to give you some context about our neighboring municipalities and to see who's using drop boxes, what their experiences have been, and what kind of equipment they have installed. And we actually got responses from five of our similar utilities. Swanton, Morrisville, we actually spoke to VEC and Washington Electric and Lindenville Electric. All of them have drop boxes. All of them have, there's a wide spectrum of installations. We have a couple of people who have the safe type approach that you see at the top of that handout that we provided to you. And then the majority of them have the through the wall or through the door solution. One of them has something that is very homegrown and similar to what the village had many, many, many years ago in our former location up at 42 Village Drive. The overwhelming response from the utilities we spoke to is that it has been a good feature. They're happy that they provide the service to their customers, and they have not had any serious security issues with their systems. In particular, VEC and Washington Electric, which are very large by comparison to us and don't necessarily have all of their customers in a local driving radius of their facility, also have relationships that they've set up with People's United Bank, where people can go in and make their utility payments in the bank during banking hours. And in particular, VC also has a Dropbox not only at their main office in Franklin or in Johnson, but also has a location at Franklin Telephone Company, another Dropbox located there. We even looked at Green Mountain Power, which I know has been discussed in the past as kind of a large utility. They also have a number of locations that customers can go and make payments around their service territory. So this is a fairly common practice among our neighboring utilities. So just wanted to provide you that context. And I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
What's the timeline on a new door?
So the door has been ordered, and I believe it was up to a 6-week delivery lead time. And that was, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago. So I think we're about 30 days out with the door.
Okay. I like the through the door idea. Seems to be cheap and effective. So, as long as we're getting a new door anyway, it makes sense. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I think we should just go ahead and do it.
I think it'd make a lot of people happy to have that opportunity. Yeah.
I'm in favor. I'm in
Yeah,
favor
same
of
here.
door.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on this, or you just want like a stroke kind of deal, or? I mean, it's only $300, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you need a motion, if there's agreement within the board and you want to just tell us to do it. I don't know that you need to make a formal motion for it.
Okay. I think we should just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you.
Cindy, are you talking? Because I can't hear you.
Sorry, you're talking about the middle picture, the one through the door?
Yes.
The white one? Yeah.
Is that the front door or the inner door?
The inner door.
Okay, just curious.
So they would actually come into the vestibule and then they would be presented with that drop slot in the inner door.
Okie dokie.
I do have a question. Does that make it, does the outer door get locked after hours, or is that always open?
It doesn't get locked now. It doesn't have the capability of being locked. However, the replacement door that we ordered with the ability to install a deadbolt in case we have a situation where we need to increase building security. We can lock it if necessary, but I would imagine that it would continue to remain unlocked as the existing configuration does. There are a lot of postings that we put up in that vestibule that we really want the public to have access to at all hours.
That's what I assumed.
Let's say if they lock the front door, then they can't get to the drop box.
That's where I was going with it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Also protects it from the weather if it's on the inner door.
But yeah. Okay. All right. So that sounds good. We'll go with that then, and I'm sure that'll make some people happy.
Thank you. We will proceed. And
Perfect.
perhaps we'll even be able to get it installed in time for our upcoming tax payment season.
Yep. Okay. So up next we have Elm Street and Main Street scoping study, wastewater department.
Yeah, so this is just a piece of housekeeping, really. We just need the board to approve the revolving loan fund agreement with the state of Vermont regarding this study, which has already been approved by the board. But the state VTrans needs a formal motion from the board regarding the loan agreement itself. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Both Matt and I have reviewed it. Seems to be, pretty standard agreement. No issues that we can see. So if it pleases the board, just need a motion from you guys to approve the loan agreement for the Elm Street, Main Street study revolving loan fund.
If I could add to that, John, just to remind the board, the estimated cost for the wastewater portion of the engineering study was $15,000. The loan has 50% loan forgiveness. So $7,500 of this $15,000 loan does not have to be repaid.
Didn't we budget the full 15 when we approved this the first time?
We budgeted $7,500 for this, and we budgeted $15,000 for the water portion of the study.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, if staff recommends that we're good to go, I'll hear a motion to approve the revolving loan fund.
Motion to approve.
All right. First, Cindy with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
All right. And we're going to need signatures on that, I'm assuming?
Yes, the agreement itself requires the chair's signature, and then the resolution requires all the board to sign.
So if we can all make some time in the near future, give that a sign. Okay, up next we have Vital Village Scoping Study, approval of VTrans grant municipal project manager.
Yeah, so again, this is a piece of housekeeping. Different grant here. This is for the scoping study for the next part of the Vital Village project. And as part of the requirements for this grant, the municipality needs to appoint what they call an MPM, a municipal project manager. That's somebody that is going to basically be in charge of the administrative aspects of the grant itself and act as a point person to the state government as the state government is working through working with the municipality through the project. So Matt Miner has volunteered to be the MPM on this. I think Matt would be a good person to have there if he's willing to do it, and he volunteered to do it. So all we need from the board really, if you guys are okay with that, is for you to make a motion to appoint Matt as the municipal project manager. And there's some other documents that need to get signed and sent into the state, but we can take care of those. We just need a formal motion from the board appointing Matt as that MPM position.
Thank you very much, Matt, for that. Yeah, I don't think he's a good fit. So I'll hear a motion to make Matt the project manager.
Make the motion.
All right, Leonard with the first, Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, once again, thank you, Matt.
Welcome.
All right, up next we have Transco Equity Office.
So in your packet, you guys will find a memorandum from Crystal Courier, who's the controller for Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. She's giving you a breakdown of not only Enosburg, but actually all of the members of VEPSA on what their own individual particular offerings are through the Transco equity offer this year in 2020. So this is pretty standard, not every single year, but almost every year. Transco does an equity offer to its owners. All of the electric utilities in the state are part owners of Velco, and Transco is the limited liability corporation for Velco. So they are the transmission provider for the state of Vermont. We only have one in Vermont, and it's Velco. And this is, you know, how they raise funds to do their capital projects. They make equity offers. Their members buy into the equity offers, and that raises capital cash for them to do their projects. In return, though, you do get dividends. You do get returns on those. I'm sort of giving a little history to this because I know we've got a couple of new members to the board that may be wondering what this is exactly. So this is a relatively small offering that they're doing this year. So if you look down the sheet there, you'll see for the village of Enosburg Falls, we're looking at two different class equity offers here, one Class A, one Class B. And then you'll see Crystal broke that out into dollar values for you as well with a total at the end. So our total for Enosburg Falls for both the Class A and Class B would be $88,820. That's relatively small. I mean, some years our equity offer just for Enosburg has been, you know, around the 250,000 area. So this is a pretty small equity offer. We do get returns, very good returns from these Transco offerings. They're usually in the neighborhood of around 11% annual. So, you know, and that's really good. So one thing that Crystal is asking for in here is VEPSA needs to know what each individual member's intentions are regarding the equity offer this year. So there's a few different choices. You can choose not to participate. You can choose to buy the equity directly, meaning pay cash for it if you wanted to do it that way. You can assign the equity to VEPSA through and VEPSA will then pay on it through a loan. So they will then go out for a loan amount for all of the members that choose that option. So there's basically three different options that you have there. Historically, Enosburg Falls has always chosen to assign the offer to VEPSA and then roll that into the larger VEPSA loan. And we then pay off portions of that through our fees to VEPSA. And if you're wondering how that works then, if it's getting assigned to VEPSA, but we're paying on it, you know, what happens if we were to ever leave VEPSA? There is a separate standalone agreement between the members of VEPSA if they choose this option, that if the member ever does leave VEPSA, that equity that they're holding on behalf of their specific members would be returned back to the member at the time the member leaves the organization. So that's not a danger to go that route. You can't lose the, you know, the equity purchase that you've made through them. Clear as mud. Matt, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, or if there's any questions from the board about that.
I would, but just a moment. Sam, are you having technical difficulty?
I don't know. I can hear everyone just fine, but I can't see anything. So
We can see you twice.
Yeah, you've got a second connection. Do you want me to drop that one for you?
please. It was working fine before. I didn't even touch it, so I don't know what happened, but
Can you see now?
no, but that's fine. I can hear you guys still. And if you can see me, then we're
Okay.
good to go. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but we'll carry on. Anyway, so John, in the past, this has been a pretty good deal for us, though, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, we get very good returns on this Transco equity offer. It's usually in around 11% annual return. So, you know, it's a good deal.
So to answer that specifically, after paying the annual financing requirements back to VEPSA for the original loan taken out for the purchase, we net about $65,000 to $70,000 in dividends after paying down the original purchase loan. And that's a combination of purchases that span back to about 2010. So that's a number of years investments combined.
Well, I think it's a good idea, and we should go for it. I mean, we have in the past. So what do you need, John? You just a motion to accept the equity offer and finance through Transco
Yeah, VEPSA,
or VEPSA?
finance through VEPSA, yeah. If that's the option, and that is the option that we historically have always done, is to finance that through VEPSA.
And I would say that given your current cash position, I would not recommend the direct purchase option, but rather the financing.
Okay with that. And the authorized representative would be Jonathan?
Yeah, I can sign on behalf of the board.
Okay.
All right, so I guess I'll hear a motion to accept the Transco equity offer, make John the designated signer, and finance through VEPSA.
I'll motion for that.
Jason with the first. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Up next, we have IBEW Contract HSA clause.
So in your packets, I put some email correspondence between myself and Lori Stanley, our staff accountant. And Lori asked a good question. It was one that I couldn't answer 100%. So I told her, let me take it to the board. I think we need a little clarification on this, and we'll get back to you. So in the new union contract, it states that employees can have HSA monies. That's, if you're not familiar with that acronym, that's Health Savings Account. That's part of the health system, healthcare system that we have for the employees here. So the new union contracts state that employees can have HSA monies withheld from their paychecks and deposited into their HSAs, their health savings account. That's something that previously hadn't been set up. It doesn't cost the village anything to offer that benefit. It's a matter of, getting some paperwork done with the federal government to allow employees of the municipality to do that. But there is a bit of a benefit to employees because they can then, augment what's in their health savings account beyond the standard contribution in case they have, an emergency of some sort. They've got, a larger balance that they can tap into if they're, getting a bad situation with their health. But the question then, so that was written into both of the new union contracts. Lori's question, though, is, does this also pertain to non-union members? And that was something that through the course of the union negotiations, we never talked about really. Was this only going to be allowed for union employees, or was the intent to also allow non-union employees the ability to do this? So I'm asking the board what the intent was regarding that new ability for employees. Did you want that to be strictly for union employees, or did you intend for it to be all of the employees?
I think it's a great idea for all the employees. Is this pre-tax? The money would come out pre-tax?
That's correct.
That makes it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. However, I do just want to put this out there that union employees get certain benefits because they pay into the union. And so if non-union members are seeking the same benefits as union members, then that can get a little dicey for sure. I don't think this offers much of a financial benefit. So I don't have a problem with this, but I think going forward, we need to be careful what we do offer non-union employees versus union.
I understand that. But it's the employee's money.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, HSA plans are great.
So are we all in agreement that we can allow the non-union employees that same opportunity?
Yes. Yes.
We're not going to need a motion on that, are we, John?
I don't think so. We can just reflect in the minutes that there was a consensus of the board that this benefit would apply to all employees.
Okay, good enough. All right. Moving forward, we have to set the 2020 tax rate.
The board should have received a memo in your packet with a number of bullets kind of summarizing the current financial position for the general fund and the forecast of where we think we're going to complete the 2020 tax year. At this point, revenues are forecasted to be about 67,000 less than originally budgeted. And that's entirely due to grants and loan proceeds associated with special projects. Some of the work has been delayed on some of the grant processes. And then the paving project has come in under budget. So we'll actually be utilizing less of the original bond issue for the paving project, and there'll be some residual funds in that bond account. Corresponding to that is an $85,000 reduction in expenditures forecast through the end of the year. Again, a good portion of that is the reduced cost in those special projects. It mirrors the reduced revenues. But there is about $18,000 less that needs to be raised from property taxes to generate a balanced budget for 2020. The original proposed tax rate for 2020 was 0.5615 when we prepared the budget in January and presented it to voters in March. We don't need to set the tax rate that high in order to meet our revenue requirements. We could have a balanced budget with a 0.5371 tax rate. That's even less than last year's tax rate. If we kept the tax rate at 5.5425, which is the rate that you assigned in 2019, we would generate about a $5,200 contingency surplus. And at this point, that would be my recommendation to the board to consider holding the tax rate flat from 2019. That's a small contingency amount in case something comes up in between now and the end of the year that we haven't forecasted for. And that would give you good rate stabilization for your property tax. And I'm happy to entertain any questions that the board has about any of those figures.
Do you have any idea why we didn't need the 18,000 for property taxes? Was there adjustment in the grand list, or?
So two things have contributed to that. Grand list has gone up about $10,300 in assessed taxable value. So that's closing the gap a little bit. And if you look at the last page of that packet, or excuse me, the second page of that memo packet, you can see that that's about a 7% increase in grand list. That combined with approximately $10,000 reduction in expenditure coverage. So about $8,000 of that is from increase in grand list, and about 10,000 of that is from reduced cost, largely in wages and benefits. Our overtime wasn't as high in the winter months for January through April as it was last year in January through April, which is what we based our 2020 budget figures on.
So like having the buffer, the contingency surplus would like be able to help if we had a lot of extra overtime or something. Is that how that would?
Right. If we have an early snowfall this fall and we run into some overtime, that gives you a little bit of breathing room. Or if something else comes up that's, unexpected, certainly those funds sit in reserve and can be used in future years to offset any kind of deficit that's necessary.
Okay.
But the board certainly could lower the rate this year to 5.371, and based on our current information, that's our best estimate for a balanced budget. That would be about 0.0054 reduction from the 2019 rate, which is relatively small. It's just a couple of dollars on a $100,000 assessed value.
I think a little bit of wiggle room at the end of the year wouldn't be a bad thing to have. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but
Yeah, my mind automatically goes to like that October,
Halloween storm.
Halloween storm, like out of, kind of the blue. And it would be nice to know that we have some rainy day funds for something like that.
And as I said, if there truly is a surplus at the end of 2020, that will carry over into the 2021 budgeting process.
Which their taxes are expected to go up anyway. So Yep.
Yes, we're anticipating an increase because we'll start paying the bonds on the 2019 paving project.
all right. Well, if the board wants to go with staff's recommendation of the 0.5425 tax rate, same as last year, I'll entertain a motion.
No motion
Mo-
for that.
All right, Jason with the first. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second. All those in favor of setting the 2020 tax rate at 0.5425, say aye.
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right.
If I could add one thing to that, Sam, the goal for staff would be to get property tax bills out by the end of this week or beginning of next week. And we would like to target an October 15 due date.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So is that part of the motion then? Because that setting the due date should also be in the motion as well.
Yep. So if everyone thinks that an October 15th due date's good, say aye.
Aye.
Can we
Sorry, Cindy.
just have a due date period? Like it will be an annual thing due on this annually instead of it moving. I don't know why it moves, but
Yeah, there are actual real reasons why it's not set on the same date every year. Probably the biggest is that we don't control the grand list. The grand list is done by the town of Enosburg, and they seem to take different amounts of time every year, in getting the grand list done. They've been a little better actually recently. The last 2 or 3 years, they've gotten it finished a little sooner. I remember back like 5-6 years ago, we wouldn't even get the grand list until like mid-September. And so we were having bills due around like mid-November sometimes. I remember we went through a couple of years like that. But they seem to have tightened it up the last 2 or 3 years, and they're getting it to us, late August or so, which allows us to get it to you guys in September and have a due date then sometime in October. So that's probably the biggest reason is the town seems to take different amounts of time every year in getting that grand list done, and we can't set the tax rate until we know what the new grand list is going to be for the year.
okay.
If I can provide some additional context for that.
Consolidation.
In the couple of years that I've been here and involved in the process, we've tried to get the tax bills out as quickly as we can once we get that information from the town. And last year we got the information a little bit sooner than we historically have. And we set the due date, it actually wound up falling September 30th. And that created some distress, I think, for the community because it was earlier than historically they've seen it come out. It also created some challenges for those taxpayers who have escrow accounts because the banks, they didn't fall on the same time frame. So I would highly support and appreciate the concept of trying to create an objective for getting those bills out with a consistent due date with, as John said, the understanding that we might not be able to meet that in a given year if there are delays in getting the grand list prepared. But I think that if we get the information earlier, there's no reason for us to advance that due date. I think if we targeted mid-October consistently, and in most cases, I think we can meet that. And then the taxpayers can understand some consistency. And I think that the town does that as well. They typically shoot for around the 10th of November for their due date. So I'm certainly willing to and supportive of the concept of trying to stabilize that due date for people.
Yeah, I'd say
Okay.
traditionally it's around this time of year, so be nice to keep it that way, especially if you have an escrow account.
Right.
But, okay.
Can we set it like at the later date to give, so people,
Same time about every year, I think we'll be all right. And I think October 15th would be all right. And in the future, if we do need an extra couple weeks, then just make it November 1st, or if it comes a little early, you know, right around this same time.
I think by statute, we're required to give people no less than 30 days to pay the tax once we've issued and mailed the bills. So that's why sometimes that date has moved out, you know, based on when we actually got the bills generated. But I think
Okay.
we can reasonably hit a target of October 15 unless there are, you know, just extreme circumstances associated with completing the grand list.
Yeah, again, that's the only caveat though, is it, you know, it depends on when the town gets it to us. So
Okay.
we may not always be able to meet that date, but we can certainly try to set it around that time frame, as long as we're getting the grand list, you know, early enough to do it.
And we'll always continue to get the bills prepared and out the door as early as we can. So if folks have, some years they'll have 30 days, some years they'll have 40 or 45 days.
All right. So we all in agreement? October 15th.
Yes.
yes, yeah,
Objections? Okay. All those in favor of October 15th, tax due date, say aye.
aye,
Opposed, nay. All right.
Thank
We
you.
got a due date. And that was all we needed for that tax motion. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, John, we got manager's report up next.
So a quick update to let you know about the Orchard Street, Water Tower Road wastewater line replacement project. The Orchard Street part of that is complete now. We did put a patch over the areas of the street where the new line was replaced. I know it looks a little bit, you know, quickly done. They didn't do, you know, quite the patch that we normally would expect on something like that, but that is only because we're going to be repaving the entire street come next month. So maybe at the end of this month as well. We haven't got a firm start date yet, but the completion date has not changed. So, and they have moved on to the Water Tower Road portion of that. That is still currently being worked on, but they're getting very close to finishing that. I believe the Water Tower Road portion of that should be done by the end of this week. So, and then the paving projects will start. Remember, we've got 4 road paving projects that we're doing this year, the biggest of which is the Orchard Street one. So as I had mentioned, still waiting for a start date from ECI on that, but we have been in contact with them within the last, you know, week to 10 days to talk about, you know, schedules and, you know, did they feel like they could still stay within the time frame designated in the contract, and they've said yes. The completion date will stay firm at October 16th, so it shouldn't be done any later than October 16th. Right now, they're telling us probably the end of September or maybe the first week of October to get started on the projects. And once they get started, they should go pretty quickly. So a bit of an update on that. Also want to let the board know that the footbridge at the hydro facility has been completed. This was finished last Tuesday, so they removed the old wooden footbridge that used to be there and have put in a brand new steel footbridge that is completed. I personally think it looks really good. Certainly a big improvement over the wooden bridge that was there. Not that the wooden bridge didn't serve its purpose. And I'm sure when it was new, it probably looked very nice, but it had been there for several decades, and it just, it wasn't doing good anymore. It needed to get replaced. And then, as you guys know, we had some vandalism that took place over the summer where somebody came in and did some further damage to the hand railings, and that didn't help the situation there either. So another good reason to have the bridge made of steel. That's going to make it a lot harder for anybody to do any kind of damage like that again to it. So that's in good shape, all completed on that project. Then lastly, just wanted to give you guys a report that I received from Amy Brewer on her efforts for the downtown area tobacco litter cleanup. And you'll find attached to the manager's report a very thorough report regarding the efforts of the Franklin Grand Isle Tobacco Prevention Coalition and helping to clean up our downtown area from cigarette butts and other tobacco litter. And yeah, there's some photographs as well that were attached to this, as you can see. So that was nice of Amy to put a couple of photos in there. She actually had one more, Matt, that had you in it, but for some reason I couldn't get that photograph to print out. So I didn't include it. I tried several times, but for some reason it just wouldn't print. But you did add one in there that had part of you in there as well. But there's a couple of nice ones there. There's a nice family there. You can see their rather large garbage bag there full of cigarette butts. It's kind of astonishing. And then you can see in the other photograph, just, in the debris on the street, you can see little bits of cigarette butts there hidden in the leaves and stuff. So my thanks to Amy Brewer and the Franklin Grand Isle Tobacco Prevention Coalition. They do this for us every summer. They spend a day or two up here in our downtown, just, 2-3 hours picking up cigarette butts and, taking them away and putting them in the garbage for us. I really appreciate that. It helps to make things look a lot nicer in the downtown area. So thank you, Amy. And that's it for manager's report.
All right. Well, thank you, John. Up next, other business. What do we got? Nothing?
Well, so I was at a school board meeting the other day, and there was they were talking about the communications union district and giving the school board, there was a request for the school board to be part of it. I've been hearing a lot about it in the news and stuff, and I know that at the beginning part, the town signed on. But I was just wondering if anybody else was curious about learning a little bit more about this, because it keeps cropping up in the news, and I think, are they up to 9 towns now, municipalities being part of it? Just really curious, and I was just wondering if anybody else was.
I think it's something we should take a look at. But I don't know any of the specifics about it.
Is it possible, John, that we could get some more information or a presentation or something on it in a future meeting to see what's going on and kind of learn what our partners are doing, or well, our neighbors, I guess I should say.
Well, it's our town
Yep.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
we certainly could. There's one aspect about this that the board members are aware of, which I guess we should go into executive session to discuss. So I'll be silent for the moment and recommend that we discuss that in executive session if it's something you want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. I guess before we go into executive, because we have to anyway, does anybody else have any other business that we can talk about right now? Okay, I can't see if it's any shaking. So,
No,
I would share,
what do you?
I would share.
I'll hear a motion to go into executive.
I think Matt was trying to say something.
Sorry, Matt.
No worries. I just wanted to share with the board that with the assistance of our Director of Economic Development and Grant Coordination, Sean Kyle, the village submitted a grant application to, I'm probably not going to get the name of the agency correct. It's a state grant funded through CARES Act apportionment. And it's kind of a gap fill grant that for those folks who maybe don't qualify for FEMA coverage for certain COVID related expenditures. And we submitted, I think it was a $3,200 application to reimburse for the cost of the modifications that we've made to the office, as well as the cost to implement the virtual Zoom function during this process, and the possibility of covering the cost of the Dropbox, which could be a qualified expense for that, as well as some other technology support if we are going to continue to have remote sharing of information with board members. So thank you to Sean for preparing that application on our behalf and getting it in. It was a very tight application due date. There's no match requirements to the village whatsoever. There's no obligation. So if we qualify, it's a process where we submit evidence of our expenditures, and if they deem them to be covered expenditures, then they would reimburse us for those.
That'd be great. Awesome that Sean did that for us.
Yep.
I did have another thing that talking about grants. And I can't recall what exactly it's called, but the COVID program to help households with paying their utility bills. I've
Yes.
seen it all over, like really great communication from what I can tell. Are we seeing action with that?
So at this point, the Department of Public Service has received about 1,900 applications from residential customers across the state. We had training for staff on Friday and again today. It's a two-step process. Once the consumer or ratepayer applies for the assistance program, then the information is passed on to the utility to validate that the customer has qualified arrearages, which can be covered by the program. So we have to log into this portal and review and verify the information for the customer, provide some account detail information back to the department, and then the department determines the amount of the grant and notifies both the applicant and the utility. And then those funds are transferred directly to the utility and applied to the applicant's account. So we have completed the training, but we don't have our login credentials yet to actually see the live data. So I don't know how many of those 1,900 applications may be Enosburg customers. We will know a little bit more about that in probably the next 48 to 72 hours.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope that there are plenty of them.
We have tried to use every channel that we can to reach out to customers, as well as notifying them when we're on the phone with them when they call in to make arrangements for paying their past due balances. So I think the information is getting out there, and hopefully people are taking it seriously and applying.
Yeah, awesome. I think, like I said, the communication around that has been really good. I've noticed it in different places, so that's awesome.
So Matt, you just reminded me of something when you're talking about Sean. So the way that the Economic Development Steering Committee set up is we need 2 board members from the village and 2 from the town. And I don't think we ever got around to appointing Matt, if you're still interested, Matt.
I'm certainly willing to support the board in that if you would like me to do that.
Okay, awesome. Because we haven't had a meeting since COVID, but we have one scheduled for September 16th at 6 p.m. I can message you the details, but I want to get all the board members' opinions on this.
Yeah, just
Sounds
to
good to
remind
me.
the board, I think that originally Sam and Jesse were the two appointees that the board had selected, and Sam's been the sole appointee since Jesse left the board. So certainly if there's another board member who's interested in doing that, by all means, but if nobody's willing or able, I'm happy to offer my support.
I vote for Matt.
Are there any board members that wish to be on the Economic Steering Committee? Because if not, I think Matt would be good for that.
I wish I had more time, but
Yeah, I vote for Matt too.
yeah.
Go, Matt.
Unanimous.
Are you sure?
Okay, so yeah, I'll send you that Zoom link, or someone's got it or whatnot. But yeah, cool. All right, I forgot about that.
Is that an appointment that you need to make a motion on? I think you did that originally when you set it to.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt anyway. Better be safe than sorry. I think it's more, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
motioned for
did.
Matt to.
Okay, so Cindy's with the first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heather with the second. All those in favor of making Matt our Economic Development Committee member, say aye.
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 All right, it's final. Thank you.
Pleasure to serve you.
All right, is that it for other business? We can head over to executive if we're all ready.
And just a,
Okay, so there's no action taken in executive. So I guess I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion we adjourn.
Something? All right, Cindy with the first. Let
Hello.
everybody say aye.
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 Opposed? There's nobody opposed. All right, you guys.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.